Hey guys, thank you for coming, showing up for an episode 2 of Talking Mortal. I'm being visited here with guest Continuity and Squirrel, both Mortal Online 2 players. How you guys doing?
Good yourself.
Good, good.
Doing good. Thank you guys so much for joining in today's episode. First off, I just want to just give some updates, some general updates about the game, some things that we might have missed out on the last episode. Uh, Obviously, we have the first being the cape. We actually got an image of the Tendremic attire cape. That's a pretty big. That's a boss drop right there. Um, don't know obviously how often this drops, but it is a very fine upgrade to the cosmetic attire. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think it shows great opportunity for everyone to see the shot callers or particular leaders of groups. It's a nice, bold banner for people to look for.
I always really
Cool.
enjoy the. Sorry,
Oh,
I
good.
enjoy the new cosmetic stuff. I think it gives people an incentive kind of thing. It adds little things you can add to the market. I don't know. It's cool. I've always liked the capes, the cool collectible items. The banner's cool as well. I like this one because it's not one you can buy from town, and it's really unique. It's kind of big, but it's what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and I actually got my hands on one of my first paintings. I thought that was really cool. I don't know if you guys have got a chance to take a look at the paintings.
I've seen a
I've seen
couple
a
of them.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really freaking dope. I'm actually trying to create a collection. I'm really looking forward to getting that done. But obviously, with the coalition controlling that dungeon, it does make things very difficult for a lot of the other players in the Mortal community. But we got to do what we can, right?
Oh yeah. I was not expecting them to have such high res pictures on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It does
they're
look good.
pretty cut and clear.
It almost kind of makes it.
Lotus showed a good stream of his and some damn nice pictures.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they were drawn by an artist or if they were generated.
And even if they're generated, I think they're cool assets to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Add to the homey feel that you can put in your buildings and such instead of just prefab shit.
No, definitely, definitely, definitely gives you more options for sure, and definitely more immersive in that instance for sure. No, that's good. I like that. Um, and then another news. I didn't. I want to get your guys' take on the combat system. Like, I thought that was probably one of the biggest things that has occurred recently.
I'm more of a mage, so I haven't really dabbled in the new melee aspect of it all. I've tried it a little bit, but as for the continuously casting for healing, that makes I think casting a little bit more interesting. I think you can get heals off a lot quicker, especially if doing, say, boss healing. You can just keep spam healing the whoever's tanking it a lot quicker and easier. Though you might go through mana a lot quicker too if you're not careful. Because beforehand there used to be like you could just keep spam healing lesser heal, and just have no problem keeping up with mana and not running out. But now it's like it's gonna cast like maybe a split second faster, so they gotta take that into record of everything.
What do
I
you
like it so far. I don't like the faint block option. I feel like it makes it really clunky. So I have it turned off personally. I think if you turn it off, it gives you kind of like a good combination between the old veteran system, and then the new like queue up system. I haven't tried with it too much. I have to get back into the combat of things, but I like the change so far. I think it's a step in the right direction for sure.
No, I totally can agree. I was actually watching a new player stream this game live for the first time. I believe his name was Goodberry Jr. The guy, I feel like, could understand the new system. It was a lot user friendly, I would personally think. He did actually murder a couple people, which I thought was hilarious and awesome for a new player to do. And then but I mean, he did say that he was a Darkfall player, so I mean, he does have that going for him. So
Yeah,
he
he
wasn't
gets that
compl-
melee combat experience.
exactly, exactly. So I do though believe that the combat system is definitely going to be more user friendly, but I believe the veterans will still stay on the legacy combat system. Personally, I personally I'm not a big fan of the new combat system, but I think it's just because of habit. Um, Definitely just more used to using the the old system compared to the new, for sure.
Yeah, I think the players that are good with the old system, like I don't fault them for sticking with it, right? Like if you're already good at it, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, right? And just because the new system's out, it's not going to make players who were bad or average amazing all of a sudden, right? It's going to take them just as long or longer than all the veterans who are already good at the old system to get just as good. So.
No, definitely. Squirrel, I had a question for you actually. So I know you said you're a mage. Wasn't aware of that. So, what do you think the patch has done for casters such as yourself?
With the changes to being able to ride bears for one, because I'm a tamer mage, I think that's pretty gnarly. Riding the bear and sending into combat. I mean, it's much different than the Mulva. Uh, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the Mulva, but it is a bulky creature, and trying to get it in things is a pain in the butt. But the bear fits a little bit nicely, more snug, and the accidental armor release. That made it definitely a game changer for a lot of situations. I don't know of how many people use it in PvP yet. I haven't gotten into any PvP with the armor on the bear yet, so don't know if it's actually fully allowed yet. Nothing's fully been said. I mean, they said stuff about it, but like they're not sure what they're going to do about it. They haven't released a full statement, but keep using it, I guess.
No, you gotta admit though, that's pretty badass though. That I mean, unfortunately, we have access to armor that shouldn't be accessible at this point for both bear and tour dogs, but
Yep.
it's pretty awesome. I mean, I checked out the tour dog armor set. It's clean. It's super clean.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. Uh, both of them look both no matter what material you use, it all looks like steel though, so very misleading. But I'm sure it'll get fixed once they actually release it.
Right. What are your thoughts, Continuity?
I hate pets, so I as a footy main myself, I hate everything that has to do with pets, and they cause me issues, and they're hard to block, especially when they get bugged in their animation that you can't block in the first place. Uh, but I think for all types of gameplay, I think they're a good addition, right? Like I think they're the balancing with being able to ridden is nice, because I know that was a big issue with people I've played with that they had to bring a horse with their bear, and then the bear couldn't be as high a level, or the horse couldn't be as high a level. So it's a nice addition for sure.
No, for sure, 100%. Appreciate that feedback. That's awesome. And then what was so on an overall level? I personally believe this patch recently passed was more of a you know life enhancing experience patch. What do you guys think about that?
Life experiencing. I mean, the game does have its issues, but I mean, can't say is it. Besides the bear, the casting, the melee change, I don't really see it making it a great improvement. I mean, I'm glad that they're dropping all sorts of new things a lot faster than they were before. I'm gonna say I'm guessing subs kind of help that, because now they're actually getting more income versus a yearly pay cut of we've got some more CD keys sold. So
Oh,
Yeah, I think
yeah. Go ahead.
it's a good step in the right direction for sure. Like the consistent updates, the speed at which they're fixing problems, I think has definitely gotten quicker, and I think the scale at which this update is a good indicator of hopefully things to come, especially because like that's one of the biggest things that's kept me playing this game for the past 3 years is the potential of it, right? I think
Mm.
we're starting to slowly see you know the potential of what the game can be, and hopefully they continue this forward path of positive additions. Obviously you're not going to please everybody, right? And the player base not being super big, you kind of have to take into account whatever the majority kind of wants to do, which I think Henrik does with the voting system.
Yeah, no, it's ingenious. Honestly, I feel like a lot of developers don't do that, and that should be a system that is provided. Um, no, that's spot on, spot on. Quality of life patch. Things were fixed that we probably didn't even realize were fixed because we're just not experiencing the issue. Like for example, mining. Uh, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was a point that you might remember when you go hit a rock, it
Oh, the
doesn't.
thing wasn't showing up.
No, it wouldn't retrieve the rock. It would make you redo the animation and move.
Oh,
So you would have to move to the left or the right, or whatever direction, and then you could hit the rock again, and then he would allow you to farm. That was one major
Yeah,
thing that was actually fixed just for quality of life that a lot of
I
people
can't say
probably
that
didn't
I noticed that.
realize. Yeah, exactly. It's just like one of those things. Like I remember specifically, I hit a rock. It happened to me. I'm like, God damn it! Like what the fuck? And then I just moved to the left, and then I would continue like nothing.
I just figured that the hitbox is just a little bit small, so I don't know.
that's crazy. I didn't know about that. I mine all the
Yep.
time, but it's usually AFK. So I probably just didn't realize it. I was like, oh, this rock's done. On to the next one.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's a lot of
Did
cool
it take away
things.
the durability during those mess ups, where it
Uh,
didn't actually give you anything, right?
I did not check. I did not check that.
I mean,
Uh,
won't know now, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And then I don't know if you guys have noticed a lot of the lag when entering certain locations have definitely been reduced. The freezing in a lot of
Yeah,
situations.
the going in and out of towns has gotten significantly better, especially Fab. Fab was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with such a great update that they did, it just sucked how spawns got screwed for about a week, and any of the potential new people that we got, they got in. Like, oh, this is cool. There's nothing to farm, and I'm sure we lost a lot of people from that. But
Oh, you're talking about like that week where nothing was spawning?
yeah,
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, so I mean, the spawns are luckily fixed at this point.
yep.
I believe dungeon spawns were fixed actually the first. That was the first thing that was fixed was dungeon spawns. I believe world spawns it took a little bit longer, but thankfully that's all fixed up now, and we don't have to worry about that going forward. Hopefully. But actually, speaking of a little bit of game breaking things, just kind of jump ahead real quick. I do actually happen, so I'm going to go over this again. So last week I talked about spiritists and flux farming, and I did show a
Oh
video.
my!
Yes, yes. I have a second video here that was actually provided to me, and let's go ahead and give that a watch real quick. I did mute the sound, but as you can see, the person who recorded this is just simply watching this guy not being attacked by the spirits. But now watch. I don't know jack about spiritists, to be completely fair with you. But now he's being attacked by the spirits. And the guy who's there farming is not being attacked by the spirits.
I had that actually happen to me earlier.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely
It's still
bizarre.
an active issue.
Yes, this is an active
Just
issue.
ghosting around, I came across there's actually about that many or so spirits around. He cast the bubble, and then all of a sudden, all the spirits just randomly started attacking me while he was just standing there. I got banished, and yeah.
Right.
Though something else I did notice, I was Crim at the time, being a ghost still, and when I got banished, the Crim timer disappeared. I can't say I've ever gotten banished much before, so I don't know if that's actually a thing or not.
It could be a node thing. The crim timers sometimes
Oh yeah, 'cause
lapse.
being teleported from banishing, yeah.
Yep, yep. Could be a node thing. So you
It was
would.
pretty cool, if that's an intended thing. I mean, I wonder if many people do that. Oh god, being a Crim, and then just get banished right away. You could respawn right away and get back into the fray.
Yeah, I mean that's something you should definitely try out because I have a feeling that you would still be crim. It just wouldn't be showing on your statuses.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
no,
Well,
100%.
I guess it would tell you if you tried resing at a blue priest, but yeah.
Yeah, that actually happened to some guy in town once. He just like was eternally Crim, but he wasn't. So he could spawn at the priest, but he was still Crim,
Hmm.
and people could attack him. Like the guards wouldn't attack him. So to the system, he wasn't Crim, but to players, he was Crim, and so like they could attack him in town, and they wouldn't go Crim for it and all that jazz. Yeah. I felt bad for him after the fourth time he was killed. I was like, okay, this is not funny anymore.
Oh, so actually, here's one big thing I gotta show. I forgot about this. This one was a big uns. 'Cause a lot of people thought this was fixed. There's the elevator in Undercraft. So this,
Elevator cross.
is an unpublished video, and I'm not too sure why. And you can see here a member from Tofu casting Elemental at the ceiling. You go, what's he doing? Let's just proceed to watch, you know? He's casting an Ellie like crazy here. At the ceiling. And I think this is on the second or third level. Now you look at that. Right inside the ceiling. And then boom. Elevated. All the way to the top.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy? That's absolutely bizarre. I can't believe that's a thing. I mean, there's been an elevator in almost every single dungeon. Don't get me
Yeah, I was
wrong.
about to say, like, it's new dungeon, new elevator. It's bound to happen. There's always one, and then 6 months from now they'll finally patch it out, or they just won't.
Yeah, it's absolutely
It's kind
insane.
of expected at this point, you know.
Yeah.
people will probably just purposely run around doing crazy things to see what they can find.
Oh, of course.
Well, you
Why
got
do the dungeon properly when I can just elevator out?
right,
It'd be
yeah.
nice if, well, I guess it would be kind of cheap if Alvern's site would let you see the names and the guild names and such, but I guess it would also help people in that case, you know, you can see what guild it was. Like, well, that guild such and such just teleported. And you got it on video, so it'd be easier to report.
No, for sure. And I mean, I feel like if GMs were monitoring it when those specific groups, which I will not name, I'm not gonna do that, but it's more of just this is just a warning, like just to stop. Like, it's an exploit. It should not be something you're doing. You get a Ruber and you're trying to just get out of there fast. You're just avoiding the actual game loop. Another thing, I don't have any actual footage, but I did witness firsthand something very interesting. And this definitely was not supposed to have happened. When you mount on a horse as a passenger with your weapon drawn, a bow, for example, you can shoot on the back of that horse while the second passenger. I'm assuming that could be the same for lances. So you could be lancing from the back and someone could be mage banging on the front. Yeah.
Kinky.
Another reason I can hate mounted riders.
But I think that is the reason for that bug, or exploit, or whatever you want to call it, I think was just simply because they coded it now so that you can have your weapon out and dismount without, sheathing your weapon. I think that something in the code broke there, because that same property would apply to a passenger getting onto the horse.
That's true.
Right?
Now the question is, are they going to be doing anything about that? Like, are people going to be getting a slap on the wrist, or are they just going to leave it alone? I mean, have they mentioned anything about that yet? Or is it something you just came across recently and not?
Very recently came across. I actually have not reported it yet. I wanted this to be the first place to hear it. I'm sure other people have heard about it and just didn't, expose it. But here I am exposing that. Yeah, it's crazy, and then remember that one thing that everyone used to do was the dagger swap to main. Yeah.
Beginning.
Thank God that got fixed because that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Oh, baggening. That's the he said baggening. Oh my goodness, we're going back.
At this point, sometimes I feel like it's just a exploit early, exploit often type thing because,
Once
it seems
fine, yeah,
if
do
I
it.
report it, I'm fine. I did my due diligence, but it's gonna take them 6 months to fix it, so I might as well use it for 6 months and then see ya.
Well, I guess it would give us a taste
Yeah.
of what campo riding will be if we get people with horses
Yeah,
to
exactly.
on being able to attack. Ugh. I hope I don't come across that. 'Cause it's just gonna be bullshit.
Well, then I have you guys. I want to get a perspective from you guys. Then, so the people that abuse some of these exploits, right? Do you guys believe that it's ethical?
I mean, you can't really. I mean, ethical, moral, whatever. Those things go out the window the second you turn on your computer, right? Like it's a video game. People will call each other gamer words. Just do say awful shit to people. Like those things go out the window. Like now, some of us are good people. I would say I am some of the time, but like you kind of if you set the precedence of allowing people to exploit your game, you can't really go back on that, right? Like if you want to start with a tough policy, you have to start with that tough policy off the rip.
Right.
You can't really backtrack, or then people are like, "What are you doing? You didn't punish these people. Well, then you did punish these people." And it's like you start that process, and then you lose faith from your community. And so I think Starbolt's honest. Like I'll give them this. They're kind of in a tough spot, right? They didn't start off as tough as they probably should have with banning people or getting people, like catching people for cheating.
Right.
And so now they're in a tough position where like they let people like cheat as long as they report it, and then they're like, oh yeah, well we know this is a cheat, got it, and then they put it on their list of like 30 million other things that are cheats, and they'll slowly go down the list, right?
Right. Right.
I don't know, it's a tough spot, but I think they definitely need to do better at getting.
So then, on that note, do you guys believe Starvolt, being as small as it is, and it being an indie studio, attempting to make one of the, I'd say, most niche MMORPGs known, do you think they're doing a very good job recently with the updates?
They're providing more often, which is nice. Seems like every time they put something out now, recently more things break. But yeah, I mean, for as small as they are, I think they're doing a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, like they're doing a decent job. You know, I think there are times they've definitely bitten off more than they can chew.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they're trying. I'll give them the fact that they're trying. That's about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to think about it too. Like, a lot of these issues are things that have been because of UE5, right? That's actually not necessarily something that the developer can completely control because it's not their game engine, right? So you got to also think about it in that instance that it's also Unreal's fault. So Hendrick's vision, obviously, being to upgrade to a better engine, allegedly better engine, right? With better visuals, with better, just lighting, everything, It's going to be higher demanding on a lot of PCs, but you have a better finished product at the end of it, right? So that engine, though, obviously is brand new. Just like a brand new comes out, it's going to have bugs, right? And the only way you can tinker those out is, unfortunately, from the source. So the source being the game engine, which they do not own. And being an indie studio is unfortunately something that they can't just pick up and do. It takes a lot of money and resources and manpower to make a game engine. So I think that's something that a lot of people got to kind of be aware of, that it's not something that Hendrick can completely control. Obviously, there's things he could control. Like in the most recent patch, he actually upgraded the subnet, which is, connectivity and latency. So I think that's pretty huge. A lot of people probably haven't realized that. But these are just talking from a game developer aspect. I'm a Unity developer, so I only code in C++ or C#. He does C++. So it's very similar languages, and it's very similar technique, especially for network code. So I understand the hardships that he and his team definitely go through. I just think that the community needs to kind of realize that and stop being such critics on a lot of those things. What are you guys' thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, I've heard, well, not heard, but read a lot of what people seem to say on official and unofficial, and people just, this is a game where people come to be a troll. It's a type of game where people come to be a troll. We dealt with a lot of that in EVE Online. There's a lot of backstabbery, crappy playership and all that stuff there. But I mean, you're gonna get that in every game. It's just this game's a little bit more risky when that kind of stuff happens because you have a lot more to lose. And yeah, it's just pixels, but when you spend all day farming, getting a horse bag full of granum or transporting goods, and then some douchebag finds some sort of way to cheat the system or do something crazy and kill you over it, it sucks, but that's the way this game goes sometimes. And it's different for everyone.
No, fair. What about you, Con?
I'm kind of in that boat of people who just kind of complain to complain. when I know nothing about how the game runs. Like, I'm not a coder, I'm a gamer. Like, I hop on, I play the game that's presented in front of me, and then when it doesn't work, I don't know anything about the systems, and then I'll complain about it. Like, it's I complain because it makes me feel slightly better, but at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna have to sit here and wait like everybody else till they fix the problem, right? You know, and then eventually, it hopefully gets fixed, or I just stop playing. It's
No, 100%.
so I definitely get it. You know, it's you have it with every game. There's
But
always
you bring up a very valid point. You are the consumer. So, a lot with consumers nowadays, they get a product, they want it to be delivered. They want to deliver a
yeah.
product, right? So, no, I completely sympathize with the consumer. Granted, I did mention, there's things that we should give, be lax on when it comes to certain aspects of the development, obviously, because it's not like a AAA studio. It's not like we're a game that's being developed by EA or Bethesda or something, right? Like, let's do a great example. A real failure of a game. Fallout 76, for example. Or Starfield. Yeah, that was supposed to be the Elder Scrolls of Space. Complete dog shit, right? I mean, visually pleasing, aesthetically pleasing, gameplay, game loop, horrible, non-existent. And hello, Poochie, how are you? No, so like, yeah, when you buy the game, you expect it to work. So I think it puts indie studios like Star Vault in a very difficult position because you're not going to expect everyone to naturally know like how difficult it is to create the game, especially something as an MMO. An MMO is something that AAA companies actually stay away from because it's ridiculous to attempt in most scenarios. Because when they fail, you've spent millions of dollars into something, and your return on investment could be absolutely jack shit. So, I'll tip my hat off again to Starvault. I know a lot of people might criticize me, but, they're attempting something that a lot of AAA studios won't attempt. Yet, again, we're going back to the consumer aspect. Unfortunately, they do need to work on delivering a stronger product. That way we would get more and more, of a community base growing. The sooner that the game gets polished, I think truly that the game will grow. I don't remember if you guys seen the latest YouTube video. I forgot from who it was exactly. Yep, there you go. He brought a bunch of very valid points, and he did a very good playthrough. He was in Haven. He exited Haven. He kind of traversed from Fab all the way down to Medulla. I think he had a very good positive experience, which I think definitely helps shed some positive light on the game, and shows how far it has come since its original release, which we can all definitely say there's been some significant changes, especially recently. I think with a lot of people don't realize with the sub, which I'm going to get criticized again for this, the sub is definitely something I think is necessary because think about it. You only have a couple hundred people. Like, okay, what's the player base on this game?
Like 1,000 right now.
1,000. Okay, 800. Okay, you got that many players on playing the game on average, right? And then let's do the math. $15 per month, right? I think it's like 49 or something like that. But $15 per month. Let's just go in it, right? So you got to do the math and then think about everyone's salary, right? So actually, let's calculate that real quick here. Okay, so let's just do...
Like, at the height, right, if you have 1,000 people playing, $15,000 a month.
Right, so, yeah.
All the upkeep it does for like keep the game running, salaries, all that jazz. Like,
right.
It's not much.
It's not much. It's peanuts. And you got to think about it, too. People originally were paying a one-time fee and expecting content to get, busted out, right? So you got to think about it in that aspect. From... obviously people want to get paid for their work. I cannot imagine the coding team on this game to be like, oh yeah, sure, don't worry about paying me until the sub starts.
Mhm.
Henrik's got to come out with all that money out of pocket, and obviously he doesn't have a large crew. But I'll tell you, coders are not cheap. In the U.S., I don't know about Europe. In the U.S., coders are typically six figures,
Oh, for sure. Well,
especially
especially
because
due
yeah,
to the fact that their job is, especially with MMOs and things like that, their job is it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. Like, there's no really days off. There's like, like if the new bug or exploit or, you know, something comes along, you just have to text your coders like, hey, my live service game needs this right now. Can
yeah,
you work on it? And then you get paid and you keep your job based on how quickly and how effectively you can get that
yeah.
issue fixed. It's not like, oh, I'll deal with that after the weekend. No, like you're gonna get up off your ass and go fix it now.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, I'm not saying forgive Starvault for, being late with a lot of the content until recently since the sub started. At least we can say they started delivering a lot more content since the sub began. But I believe that's because of the motivation the team has received to deliver such. But then again, I'm going to go back on that a little bit, backtrack. Again, we're going back to the consumer. They need to have a product that they can play and enjoy.
Mhm.
So that's really all that matters at the end of it. I'm not saying, let Star Vault just not do anything. I'm saying let's remember the positivity. Let's remember the difficulty of the task at hand, but let's also remember, you know, we are consumers at the end of the day. Starvault needs to, obviously help us with that, but there's a lot of variables. People are going to argue about their own perspectives, and I mean that's kind of why we're here, and that's kind of why I'm asking you guys how your thoughts on it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Anything else you guys like to add on that?
Yeah, it was just like the idea, right? That it's a double-edged sword, right? You wanna offer content to your creators, I mean to your consumers, right? But you
Right.
also like he has to deal with the fact that his team's not very big. So what can he manage versus what do people want? It's
Yep.
it's definitely a game he's probably always playing. So I have to give him props for that. But you also gotta, if you expect your game to have X number of people continuously playing your game for years on end, right? Like you're going to have to consistently keep them intrigued, right? The human, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Attention span
Mm-hmm.
is short as hell, especially when it comes to games, right?
Squirrel.
So it's like, if you don't keep your player base intrigued with new things, and if you give them the same gameplay loop, or it's give them 2-3 months gone, like, there's plenty of other games and stuff coming out, right? If you don't introduce new gameplay loops and things like that, it's gonna get old.
Yeah, 100%. Like Helldivers, I think it's got a very good first start. It went out the start line like a bus. But if they don't drop content, that game's going to die very quickly.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that game is
That's why
way
they're
too
trying to run it
repetitive.
yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that's just for all games. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. So we're going to cut it on that convo. I do want to get into TC conversation because I think it's kind of a pressing thing on this game. A lot of people are demanding changes to the current TC system. Um, and then I know there's been talk about things like schedule rating blocks, not being able to build in someone's bubble, which I think that's huge. I think that there's a lot of things that need to be discussed and implemented in order to fix the current system. I'm not saying it's totally broken, but I definitely do believe that there's a lot of things that could be improved upon. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Uh, there are lots of TC structures everywhere. Uh, I feel like where there's keep bubbles and such should dictate how many types of certain structures you can have within that bubble. if it gives a reason for other keeps and guilds and such to fight other keeps to try and knock back the size of their bubble, so that they can place more TC structures and fight the bubble system. Um, just, some people just blatantly put so many structures of randomness all over the place that makes no sense whatsoever, and it's like, okay, now you just made this look like crap. What the heck?
Yeah, I think the system in and of itself, right? It's a massive, massive gameplay like loop that was kind of half-assed added to the game, which in the grand scheme of it, right, like it's gonna have massive impacts on both the community, like individual players, like how the game itself is going to be played, right? And I think that there were a lot of they had this grandiose idea of how they wanted TC to work out, and then it kind of fell flat on its face when they had these systems and like half of them didn't work as designed, or they worked too quickly, and they didn't really think about all the possibilities, right? Like obviously you're not going to be able to, but they didn't think enough about the consequences of adding a half-baked system to the game that could have massive implications on its player base, right? Like, I mean, there were the issues with how long it took to destroy keeps, and then they changed that, or how long it took to destroy buildings or build buildings, and then there's no cap on certain buildings, which I think is wild to me. Uh, like, there's all these different things that, like, as a person who just plays games, like, this is common sense, right? Like, putting caps on things, I think the raid timer things is an interesting idea. I think it's hard for a game that spans the entire planet, right? Because none of those times is going to be convenient for the whole player base, right? It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
inconvenient for somebody, unless they make it to the point where guilds get to choose like a 2-hour window, or like, I don't know, some sort of window, like a 4-hour window, let's say, that, okay, I'm accepting that this is my guild's prime time. I can be raided during this time. That way, the PvPers who want just a good PvP fight, they can get that. The people who just want to farm or do other things and they don't want to deal with that type of gameplay, they can play during those other hours, or, yeah, it's, I don't know, I feel like that would have been a very good start to it, because then you don't have people who, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep and then I get pinged at 2 a.m. my time, I have work the next day because I'm productive, and I just, all my shit's gone. I'm like, dope, everything I just made is gone. I like everything I built for the past 2 years just got offline. Okay, fuck this game, I'm gone, right? Like, I feel like there's probably definitely people that has happened to them, and it's sad, honestly. It's like, I like playing this game, and I would be very upset if I lost everything in one night, because I happen to be a productive person in society,
Not for sure. So there's something that I was kind of spitballing and kind of thinking about in the back of my head. What do you think about a vote system? So you get a vote system of times. So not necessarily, like there's a window that your guild is playing prime time at. Because, I mean, that kind of eliminates other guilds from wanting to siege your keep, right? So what happens if there was a vote system implemented and a date, and said this is when it's going to happen, you guys can both mutually vote away certain time frames, and then you're left with whatever's remaining.
Okay.
You know what
So
I'm
at
saying?
least that way, both parties understand, like, okay, if it is gonna be 2 a.m. my time, I know I have to keep my ass up. That's valid.
Yeah,
I could see that being a potential solution. At least you
right.
understand, okay, I know I'm going to get attacked at this time,
Yeah,
I can make some sort of preparations.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You can, yeah, go ahead.
Eve Online had an interesting system for that. The personal owned structures, POSs. Back when I played it, I should say. I'm not sure if it's changed now, but they would have a certain amount of materials you'd have in there, where it would take maybe an hour of bombardment for them to knock down the first shield, and while that's being bombarded, someone who can access the structure can fly in behind the shield safety, change the amount of materials in there for when it gets to a certain point, that it will set a timer to where you want it to be dedicated to be, where the next shield will be attackable, so that way you can plan around with your guild, alliance, or whatever to defend it. So it's not just instantly destroyed right there and then.
No, 100%. I can totally get behind that. No, that's huge. I think you guys have brought some very good points. I think definitely there needs to be some sort of scheduling system. Either the window, which there's going to have some drawbacks on both sides. You're going to have a drawback if you have an open window, because like I said, it's going to eliminate other guilds from attacking unless they plan to stay up all night and then prepare for this siege in the middle of their sleeping time. Or there's the voting system, which I mentioned, but I feel like that could also have some drawbacks because that could be manipulated somehow. There's a lot of things and variables you got to take into effect. But I think we can all agree that there definitely needs to be some sort of time slot system that a lot of other games do have, like you just mentioned, Squirrel. So I think that definitely is something that needs to happen. Hopefully Henrik hears the community, because that's been something that's been talked about for some time. I do believe that he would deliver on something like that if it was been, something tossed in his face enough times. So, he's done it. He's made changes when it's been something that's been pressing by the community, for sure. So I can see that being something that does change in the future. Because I do remember he has talked about TC changes coming in the future. So that does leave us time to suggest changes to that system. One other thing that, beside the siege timers, what do you guys feel about TC griefing?
Oh, I mean, it's easy way to fix that. Put a cap on buildings and link it to guild tier. Right. I think they really misplayed like a fucking softball throw type like gate to things. Right. Like put the number of TC buildings or types of TC buildings, lock it with the size of guild. Like obviously, I think after like level 2, all of them should be unlocked. So then even smaller guilds that don't necessarily have the time to take towers or other things like that should still have the ability to unlock all the buildings, right? But I think at some point, like you shouldn't like a guild. No guild needs more than like what 5, maybe 10 alarm towers, right? I feel like some of these buildings are like culinariums, bro. Like I think there's more culinariums than there are players in the game. Like it's ridiculous, and it's useless. It's dumb. They're just, and then it kind of ruins the immersivity of the game, right? Because it just allows people to spam random shit all over the map. Like there's no purpose. It's just, oh, I don't want someone to build here. Boom, I'm just gonna spam a bunch of random shit here, so they can't build.
Right.
It's kind of brain dead, honestly. But
No, I agree. So, I mean, one thing I was kind of thinking about, and I hope it's something that could actually be seriously thought about, is what about guild tiers offering more building limit, right? So we're just adding more incentive. So let's just say a tier 1 guild has access to like 3 to 5 buildings or something that you can place down. Then a maxed out guild, right? Like, let's do an example of, I don't know, Odin Seed. They're like the largest guild on the server, right? So let's do Odin Seed. Let's just say that they can place down maybe 100, Because they own 3 keeps at the moment, right? So,
yeah, something like that.
right.
Crazy. That's crazy as well. I don't know how someone's able to own 3 keeps, but it's good. They're not defending 2 of them.
Oh.
They're blocking off 2 of their own circles with 2 other keeps. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's how the game has been designed, and I mean, you can't knock it because it's realistic. It can happen in real life if we were in such a world, because life is not fair, right? So,
oh, for sure. Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's not necessarily a thing of what's fair. It's kind of like a utility thing, right? I like the idea of competition is what, especially in a PvP game like this, is what keeps it alive, right?
Right.
It's not entertaining if they owned every single keep on the map, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then it's okay, cool. They did the PvP thing, they got all the keeps, great. Now,
Right.
are there any guilds out there that can counter it? Well, no. Everyone's either left the game or they're, half the server is in Odin Seed. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'll band together with my ragtag group of Haven newbies and try it again,
No, no, for sure, for sure. Um, no, I get that, I get that. But no, one thing I did mention or want to mention as well, not on top of just like the TC caps, like the TC griefing. Um, do you guys believe that it's fair though? Because we didn't really get into this, for people to build TC buildings within somebody else's stronghold bubble. Oh, I think I lost them. Give me one sec. Sorry about that, folks. Hey, Skirius, welcome back.
Nope. Hello?
Yep, I hear you loud and clear, sir.
Continuity's disappeared too.
Yep, there we
Yeah,
are.
I think we
Right,
lagged
weird.
out a little bit
All right,
Um,
appreciate that, guys.
Other people being able to build in other people's bubbles. I don't think that should be something that should be doable, but I guess circumstantial. Was it specified that way by the devs?
I think this kind of goes back to like the half-baked thing, right? Like they didn't really think about it. It was kind of like, oh, we're gonna have bubbles, so then the owner can place things in that bubble. But what about other people? Um, and like, I think the keep thing is an interesting one. I think the jury's still out on that one, whether that's a good system or not. But like on individual structures, I think they're small enough that it kind of gives the owners of those buildings, if it kind of blocked off areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, if talking about going back to the reality thing that you mentioned before, like in reality, no one's really going to be able to want to or be able to build something that close to something else's structure, right? Like it doesn't really make sense.
Right, and that's why there is the bubble.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like you own this territory, you like, so you can do with it what you please. That would make sense. Um, I don't know, to be honest.
Right, right. No, I mean, it's. I think it's a very.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah, it's a controversial topic for sure. I think that personally, I don't think you should be able to build on front of somebody else's strongholds, but unfortunately, that's not the case currently, right? Obviously, we see it everywhere we go in the game. We see different guilds, TC structures like right beside each other, right beside everything. It's not something that I think we can easily get away from at this point since it's already been done. But I think it's something that should be prevented going forward. I definitely think that you should not be able to build TC buildings on POIs. I have witnessed that. I think that's absurd. I think it's a point of interest for a reason. There's no reason for you to build a TC building on it. Not only does it kind of take away content for other guilds or other players, right? You're kind of monopolizing on a POI, and you know you're not going to get sieged down because it's a waste of fucking money.
Valid. I think that's another system. See, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this game that's, I think my biggest gripe, right, would be like the systems they add. I'm like, objectively, these systems would be great if they were implemented as they should for the game that they're being implemented in. But that's never the case, right? The systems that get added are always half-assed, and so because of that, people, it kind of goes back to the exploit thing. It's like, as long as I take advantage of XYZ system before they fix it, they're not going to delete any of my stuff to make it an even playing field for anybody else. That's why there's legacy strongholds. You know, there was legacy tower shields, but they're still in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's like legacy daggers. There's legacy everything, because it's like, we have a system. We found out the system doesn't work very well. It takes us half a year to fix it or more. People realize, and then we tell the player base, hey, there's this really big issue. We're going to fix it because it's causing XYZ issue. But we're not going to fix it just yet. Or it takes them forever, but they tell everybody super early, so what do, right? Tower shield nerf? I'm just going to spam craft a bunch of tower shields. So that when the thing does come out, they're not going to delete them. So I'd have a bunch of pre-patched tower shields I can use. Or, you know, the whole pre-patched blood debacle. And it's they're doing their due diligence, I think, to try and fix the problems of the player base has expressed are there. They just need to then go back and get rid of the things because okay, they add a bubble around POIs. Great, awesome. This was needed from the beginning, but my house is already within that bubble. What are you gonna do? Delete my house? Well, you should, right? Because then I have that advantage, an even bigger advantage over other people because not only do I have a house super close to said POI, nobody else can build anywhere near mine.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, so it's another super gray area.
No, 100%. So my thing I would say for that would be why maybe offer the GMs to move the house to somewhere of your preference outside of the bubble.
I mean, I think there's that, right? But then you're adding to the GMs who are already, I think, swamped.
No, for sure,
You
for
know,
sure.
like, and I think they're causing themselves these problems. To be honest, it's like they just don't. There's a lot of things they just don't think through.
No, for sure, for sure. I think they have a vision and they want to enact on it, but they are missing obviously on things that could occur, like bugs and such. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that haven't been thought through thoroughly. But I mean, look at the cave camp debacle with the Pergite and Quadracons. They literally tried blocking off all of cave camp with TC buildings. That shit got destroyed by the GMs almost immediately the day following. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but they
I
did.
did not see that.
Yeah,
Oh, and I guess
they
they did
had.
the same thing with wheelchair bandits, didn't they? They like picked up their village and tried to move it somewhere else.
Oh, well, I was not aware of that. I
Yeah,
have
they
no idea.
literally. There was like a video that went around, and it was literally a video of somebody sitting at cave camp, and there was just buildings that just popped up because the GMs were moving the entirety of wheelchair bandits village.
No, no shit.
And then like people got upsetty spaghetti that somebody was moving into their fucking backyard, which I would too, but you know
That's
it goes back to the thing. It's like the wheelchair bandits. As much as I hated getting ganked around Fab, right? They did what they were supposed to. They played the game as it was presented by the GMs. They placed buildings outside of Fab. Like, do I think it was too close to town? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really care. That was their gameplay loop. And then the GMs were like, "Oh, I'm gonna pop a bunch of fucking guard towers on a bunch of people who like to play, who like to be crim, get fucked." And then, they're like, "Well, you just destroyed our entire gameplay loop. What are we supposed to do?" And they're like, "Well, we gotta move your structures." And then, all the effort they put in for the past, I don't know how long wheelchair bands have been around, a year or so. They're like, "Yeah, get fucked."
I do remember they
It's-
used to sit out town and just gank all day or try and dismount you. Yeah.
yeah.
I guess that's kind of difficult because trying to dictate whether or not to be nice and move them or tell them "It's too bad, so sad." I mean, they'd risk, if they didn't do anything, they'd risk losing however big that guild is, of them just saying, "All right, fine, we quit the game, no subs for you for such and such many people." I don't know how. That's the first I'm hearing it. So hopefully, I don't know how. If that had, yeah, I can work. If that happened with many other people, that'd be interesting to hear about. But
Yeah. I mean, if it's asinine to think that like the GMs are gonna sit there all day and be like, "All right, anybody who, is wronged by these guard towers or these bubbles, like we'll move your stuff, right?" And then these GMs are just moving buildings all willy nilly, and because I mean, part of the game, right, is countering people building in your area, right? And
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act of like, I'm gonna pick up and move your stuff because we created something that was half-assed and it fucked you over, right? So we're gonna move your stuff courtesy of us. But then you're like, oh, if that's the case, then I'm gonna take advantage of it. Can you move my stuff halfway across the map? Then you gotta think of like, okay, is this really something that we want to do? No, can't do that. We can move your stuff just outside the bubble if you want, like,
Right.
but we're not gonna move your stuff halfway across the map, right? Like,
Right. So we basically, yeah, no, I totally get it. And I definitely feel for the banditry murderer game loop that was, because I mean, you gotta even think about it. It wasn't just the wheelchair bandits got affected. I'm pretty sure Bad Company got affected by that as well. Because I do remember my game loop. I used to live down in the south east with my guild, and I remember there was guy who was a lancer, always sit outside of Moki area, Lord Faramir, and he used to run down back and forth and just lance and hit everybody off their horse and kill them. And I thought like that was kind of cool. I was like, as much as I hated to get killed by the guy, I thought it was cool because it was like a player bandit. He's trying to rob you and take your shit, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a game
The idea
loop.
of it's cool.
Yeah.
It adds a little spice to the start of town and all that jazz.
Yeah. No, 100%. There's a lot of things that I think it's like you. I think we also mentioned earlier. Like, it's a double-edged sword. You add something in to help affect a certain different part of the player base, which I'm assuming was the newer players, I'm assuming, or the ARPK, the anti-random player killing guilds. I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like that was what was focused towards them, to give them some more relief and feel of safety when going towards the cities and participating in those general areas and vicinities. But I think they completely forgot that they're ruining somebody else's game loop completely. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah, it's a balancing act of like making sure that safe, quote unquote, safe zones are actually safe for new players, right? Versus, okay, once you step out of that safe zone, it's not safe anymore for a reason. There are people out there that are gonna kill you and want to take your shit. And I think they kind of started this now, like with the whole wilderness and the murder counting, which is a whole other topic because the fact that a dungeon is in an area that can allow people to murder count is ridiculous. But
Ooh, speaking of murder counting, being able to murder count with TC structures, I don't think that should be allowed.
what do you
Yeah.
mean?
You know, Fab Sewer Guard, they have a church there. It's like the city priest that you can just report to and report murders to. Yeah. I noticed. Oh, actually, speaking of that, a shout out to Lake Pikes for starting it. Actually, let me see if I can find that. It was so cool. I mean, it's not something that I personally would like participate in, but I think the concept is really there and really cool. They started something called the Open Town Network. Oh, jeez. Where do I go? They got that again. It was actually really cool.
Oh, it was like a map or something that showed what priests were open or something.
Okay, here we go. I found it. Okay. Share. Okay, here we go. So they actually got a website, a URL, paid for with the servers. They have literally listed like their cities. The Discord link is right here. Where on the map they're located. They're like open to all players except for murderers. So of course you got Lake Pikes are down here in the jungle, as would be, and then you have Fab Sewer Guard, who began this open village for use at the Undercroft. It's super cool. I mean, like I said, it's not something I personally participate in. It's not my game loop. It's not in my interest. I just think it's a really cool concept that Lake Pike started something like this, and then Fab Sewer Guard has followed suit and offered them this, system. So, it's listing what is in that city. Or that town, whatever you want to call it, right? So I think that's something that's really cool, and shout out to them to attempt to do something like this. Open Town Network is a space to connect open settlements and Mortal Online too. I think that's really cool because you're almost adding like another city per se. Because I don't know if you guys been to Lake Pikes. I actually went down there because I was actually curious upon checking this out. It's like a whole city down there in the jungle.
Yeah.
And they actually list. I wonder if I can actually pull it up. Let's see. Okay, here. Perfect. Pike. So if I actually get... So yeah, it shows exactly what's in their town. No PK, no player killing, right? That's cool. So around here, what they have, resources, buildings, hostile. So here, they even have the hostile guilds listed. I don't know who the hell Lincoln Park is. I'm sorry. Sounds like a non-factor to me.
I don't think Grimside's even a guild anymore either.
I think I saw Grimside was exploiting the flex. I think I saw that personally.
add to the list of every guild ever who did that.
But no, I thought that was really cool. Shout out again to the Pikes for doing that. Um, yeah, I think that's really cool. And then I know, of course, we say Fab Superguard follow suit with Undercraft. Who knows who will be next? But yeah, I think it's really badass.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's another game loop. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, wasn't that like one of the initial takes of TC player-made cities that people could come and venture into, but then it's because it costs guilds supply and money and shit like that that stop that from ever becoming a thing. Because like you had to travel so far to get to a vendor or to you don't want to have to travel an hour to sell 10 bandit heads because you're overburdened by having so much. But oh look, there's a player city here. I could just go sell there. Oh nope, can't because it's not open to the public. So
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And I think we're kind of going towards, with Undercraft, with the open village that is Fab Superguard, right? I think that we're kind of going towards this, um, non-player killing dungeons kind of scenario that's been discussed before. I don't know if that's the right direction for the game.
No, it's not. It's not. It
Um,
ruins it in the sense of like dungeons are gonna have valuable resources that are in quote unquote limited supply,
right.
right? And if they should definitely be fought over, right? Like it shouldn't be like because it kind of ruins it if I'm gonna go to a dungeon to fight over things and then I kill somebody who's to get the resource and then I just get murder counted and I get punished by an in-game mechanic to by playing another in-game mechanic and then I can't go into town.
Right.
Right?
No.
Like it's dumb.
Yeah, I definitely think that the reporting system should not be something that should occur in a dungeon.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's think about this in more realistic aspects. You have a dungeon, and it's dark. There's no guards down there. There's no authority, right? It's a dungeon. I mean, there's literally freaking shows and animes made over this type of stuff, right? You kill people in there, and their deaths are hidden, right?
Yeah.
I get... Right. And I get that, obviously it's not a one life game, right? You respawn, yada, yada, yada. And of course the word reaches out to their guild mates or whatever. That doesn't mean that you should still be able to report somebody for entering a dungeon and dying.
Yeah.
I think the reporting system is kind of silly. It's kind of like a griefer mechanic as well. There's some players, which I will not name, that I know from certain guilds that will literally go up to players naked that they just don't like and expect to get killed by them just so they can report them and add to their murder count and reduce their rep to Kurite or Tindremic. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that's right. I think that's stupid. And that's just something that should not be a thing. That's just my personal thought.
I don't know. I mean, if somebody finds that entertaining, then hey man, everyone who plays this game is a little special, but that one's a little extra. I
Fair enough.
don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that it's your game loop and you enjoy it, then yeah, power to you. But then, of course, we're here talking about it and then just seeing each other's perspectives. Just, going from there. It's not like it needs to change. I think it's just like a biased look at it.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a murderer. I don't just kill every fucking person I see. But like, if you're at a resource that I want, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Right.
Basic
Yeah.
supply demand type.
Yeah. Like, I only kill people if I know they're enemies of my guild, right? Beyond that, I don't really try to fuck with people. But then, of course, if I see 5 dudes and I'm by myself, I probably will fight them regardless because I know, like, just from personal experience that I'll typically get attacked 99 times out of 10 anyway.
Oh yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I think it's definitely, like, a factor situation for sure. But I just personally think the dungeon should not be a reportable area. Yeah, I just think dungeons in general. Because, I mean, running puzzles is a bitch. Doing the tasks, I think, is a lot better, but still not part of my game loop. Not something that I want to go out and do. Um, I think that's something a little bit RP in the sense that oh you're doing jobs for the town guard, right? That's what like the soldier taskmaster is, right? Or you're a huntsman and you're taking jobs to kill animals, right? Um, I think that's a little RP in a sense, which is cool, but I mean, if you're just trying to grind it out to get the cape or grind up your rep, I don't really see that as an entertaining game loop for a lot of people. I just think it's just grindy, and you might as well go to like a grindy ass game. Not saying that Mortal Online is not grindy, of course it is, but it's what you make of it. Squirrel, what are your thoughts on all that?
Oh, no. It's a lot. I mean, I'm also looking at the chat too. I know I shouldn't, but some interesting stuff there. It's yeah, I've seen. Not sure who streamer was, but like they got killed, say at Undercroft. They may not necessarily have TC structures, but they priested to the nearest city and were able to murder count there, and then they would just home back to a house nearby at Undercroft.
Mm-hmm.
And even that I felt was still fishy. There's a lot that the devs have to change around and tweak and whatnot, but to me it's an addicting game. I'll probably still be playing it for God knows how long. Made some good friends.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure.
It does have issues, yeah. I mean, every game's gonna have its issues, but everyone I talk to has 1,000+ hours in this game, whether it be doing this or that or all of the above. How can anybody really, honestly? Yeah, people can bitch about it, but really, you've been playing it that much. It's definitely worth the $15 a month, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other games I've played Baldur's Gate 3. I've started it over and over and over again, and I've already put over 1,000 hours in that. And that game was, what I paid for it was $50, 40, $50, something like that. Well worth the pay. Yeah, there's a lot of story to it, and there are bugs in that game, maybe not as nowhere near as much, but there's so much time invested into this game, and the thrill of the PvP, like, oh, am I gonna lose my stuff I have on me that I just farmed, or stuff like that. It's like that, like again, EVE Online had that thrill, like you either fight to survive or die in a blazing ball of glory and lose everything and go back to getting another ship or getting a new set of gear. And there's a lot of problems, but all in all, it's a good game with a lot of potential.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. That's fair. Anything to add? Continuity?
I mean, I think it's not to beat a dead horse. It's just half-baked systems. That's all I can say.
Well, actually, there is one thing that has kind of crossed my mind, and I want your guys' thoughts on this. I don't know if you guys were aware. I found this out from a source, and I will not disclose any names. I will not say names. I already know the names. I know whose guild they belong to. I have DMs showing a conversation about someone owning multiple homes under the same single character slot.
Oh, there was like the
Really?
Yes.
house bug, right?
I don't know exactly, but I have pictures of the homes, the strongholds, all owned by the same guy. And an LGM did get involved because obviously it's something that we wanted to report, right? You would have reported if you saw it, trust me. You get it reported, and the LGM did get involved, but he only slapped them on the wrist. And apparently he had 5 structures on his account. 5 structures. I don't know if he still has those structures under his name. I haven't looked back into it personally, but I did hear about that, and a certain guild was warned not to do anything like that. I was very surprised. Obviously, they're abusing a system they knew was wrong to abuse. Um, I
Did it
don't.
give him access to like the house chest and everything?
I don't know that if it went that deep. I just
'Cause
know that
that would be
he had
fucked. Like,
5 homes under him. That's all I know. So that's basically you have 5 home slots on one character, right? You're taking that, and then you have 5 additional home slots on those other 5 players that probably originally built the homes, right? So I think it was like a transfer type of thing. They transferred it into that person's name. So I mean, I don't know if that exactly was the situation, but I do know that there was 5 homes under one person. Like I said, are they still under another person? I have no clue. But the LGM did get involved. Thankfully, due to a report. I only found out because someone leaked some info. This actually happened quite a while ago, though. But that's just an example. Who knows how many other people have multiple house lots on their name?
Ain't nobody got time to check every dang house out there.
Yeah, exactly. So
Still, you'll remember a name from the West Coast. I'll go all the way to the East Coast, and my name sounds familiar. I can't remember. Yeah, I gotta go all the way back and check that house.
yeah, maybe start taking screenshots of every single house you check on,
That's
and then cross-reference all the hundreds of houses in this game,
no, thank you.
and then knowing all the people that had alts on this game, just to have a house lot.
Yeah, I think if an account goes inactive for so long, their property should decay no matter what, in my opinion. There are many other games out there that do something similar just to save space on the game. Because say someone quits for 6 months or quits permanently because they got the whole thing now where you can put the guild stone in, so any guild can pay for it. Well, you know what? Now that spot's just taking up and it's just being a waste.
No,
I mean,
I for sure.
used, but it just, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just every day you go around and you see another new building decaying finally because either the guild stopped wanting to pay for the upkeep or forgot about it or enough people quit. It's fine, I get it.
no, for sure. And I mean, we're kind of falling back into that realm of TC griefing, right? Because I mean, I don't know if you guys remember when was it Scorn that owned Bhakti Keep? Yeah, I think it was Scorn, then it was DeBars, then Wreck. But anyways, was it DeBars at the time? I don't remember. Oh, and we lost continue, but it's fine. We'll continue a bit here. So I don't know if you remember Squirrel when Broken it was built a home inside of the keep. Do you remember seeing that? I don't remember exactly.
In the keep, like the actual keep, not the wall courtyard.
Yeah, it was like inside, I believe. I can't remember quite, but it was inside the walls. I just think, should that be something that should be allowed to build inside of a keep?
oh, if it's like not your guild.
Yeah.
Oh, it was not even. So it was a different person outside of the guild.
Right.
Keep.
And then the same thing happened with New Dawn Keep. Back when Dauntless transferred it to them, Hidamaki built a tier 3 behind their keep on the outside so that people could bubble on to the walls. Should that be allowed? I've always thought about that. Like, should that be allowed? Because, I mean, we did talk about, like, building TC structures in front of people's strongholds, like, bigger guilds griefing the smaller guilds, right?
I would say no, that shouldn't be allowed because, okay, well, I'm going to come into your house and I'm going to build a mini house inside your house. How are you going to feel about that?
No, yeah, for sure. But now we got to think about it from, like, a game aspect, though, as a mechanic. Because I know we talked about griefing in the sense, like, it just should not be something, like, you shouldn't be able to put an alert tower in front of your enemy guild stronghold, so you're alerted every single time that someone comes and goes, right? We kind of, like, right, that's an example. But now we're talking about a stronghold, or keep, right? And that tier 3 that you just built is basically now become a chance to be used as a siege machine, essentially, to get on the walls of your enemy's keep, right? So it kind of gives you more variety So like we've seen things from elementalists blowing up water and shooting people up and onto the walls from the ground of the keep, right? I know Karnimata Battle Brothers do that, and that's not an exploit. That's just being smart, using your brains and using elementalism to its full extent. And then you have Nightmare shooting people with the wind spell across walls to get past the closed gates. Huge. And then you got people using Mangs to fire people onto the walls. And then you got
But all
people.
those come with risk. It's never a guarantee to work, unless you. I mean, I'm sure some people have it perfected, but there's always the risk, especially with the Mang. I remember back in MO1, there was a glitch where you would go with the player built walls, the wooden walls. You could go up, like you'd hold block or something, and you'd get like punched over and over again, like say 30, 40 times, and then you let go of the block, and it would just launch your character up and over. I'm guilty of that. I won't lie. I was new to the whole gaming community back then when that MO1 was out, and that was interesting to do. And like I'm sure with like Mangs, I've never done the launching of Mangs people, but it's like you risk getting killed from the landing if you don't aim it right. So
Right.
it, I want to say like I wouldn't doubt they've tried that back in medieval times. I'm sure they've tried it.
Well, I'm talking about the house, though. Do you think that's something that should still be allowed?
No,
Because
that house shouldn't be within the. If you're talking about the keep, so the keep, the courtyard itself, yes, there can be houses there. Inside the keep itself, if the walls got sieged down by an enemy,
Mhm.
and they knock down a section of wall, yes, fair game to build a house in there because they successfully sieged the wall.
Okay, so building a house inside the courtyard is cool if they knock down the wall, right? So that would be
Yes.
like you have to have met that requirement. But what I'm talking about, so that's because that's one scenario. The other scenario was a house being built so that they could bubble on to the keep walls.
I guess it comes down to being. Oh, I don't know. Again, that's part of the game mechanic of using that bubble to that way. So I guess that's a tough one.
Right. Right. What are your thoughts, Con?
It's, I think they want all this cool stuff, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the systems within the game contradict each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have elementalism, which inherently cool magic's cool, awesome, great, but then you add sieging, and you're like, okay, well we're gonna add siege engines, so then people will use siege engines to break down buildings. Well, no. Why would I break down a building and use a bunch of money and stuff when I can use 50 cents worth of elementalist mats and just shoot you over a wall? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very simple. And then if I do that enough times, then I can just kill everybody inside and easy peasy. I think they need to figure out balance between adding cool magic schools or cool mechanics, and then it completely negates complete other mechanics, right?
Right. Right.
It's just do you want sieging to be purely sieging using siege engines, or do you want it to be a combination of both? I think a nice combination of both is cool.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
don't think that one should bypass the other completely, right? Because it kind of ruins the immersion. It ruins the gameplay loop. Like, sieging should inherently be hard.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And I mean, I personally think the house behind a keep is a great aspect because shame on the keep owners for letting them build a tier 3 behind their freaking keep.
Yeah.
Right?
And speaking of like keeps and structures and TC stuff, there's not a lot of anti-Mang work unless you can defeat the ground force that's attacking you. You have no means of, fireballs and arrows. I don't know. Do arrows actually damage Mangs? I don't personally know.
Probably a damage. Single digit.
Yeah, and that would take. But if you do it right, all right. There's got to be other ways to properly damage. I know that we have the ballista. However, unless you're in a keep, ballista are pointless because you'll get one or two shots, and then you can't go and get any more bolts because you're being sieged, and you can't leave your stronghold
Right.
to get more bolts.
So, what about, I was just thinking, like, if we think realistic medieval warfare, right? Again, we are in a fantasy video game, so we can't really be too realistic because, then again, of the day, it's a freaking video game, right?
Yep.
So, I think something that could be easily implemented. You know how we already have the rock cutting tents?
Mm-hmm.
What about tossing rocks at people?
What do you mean?
So, like, dropping them up from above on someone. So,
Hot oil over the edge.
Well,
stuff like
you
that.
know how they have the inner key, like there's the double gate at the front, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about being able to drop boulders on people?
I think it'd be cool.
I think that would not be used, obviously, because it probably wouldn't be like wholly effective. Because you got to carry a freaking boulder and then walk it up some stairs and then find the perfect place to drop it. And then maybe if they added like an area of effect of where you drop the boulder, because obviously you're probably not going to drop it directly on a player's head, maybe 1 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So
Maybe I could see maybe if you could get like upgrades to walls or an upgrade to like the top of a stronghold or something. Then
mhm,
it's kind of like a stone cutting tent in the sense of like, it's like you fill it with stone or whatever, and then like a stack of stone or whatever, and it makes like 5 boulders,
right,
and then like you can drop it, and it's just like a mechanism, kind of like a mang,
right,
or not a mang, like the tent works, and that it has to continuously like be fed materials,
mhm,
and then you can just drop it on them, and then it does like a small little AOE damage or whatever.
right.
That way you don't have to carry around the wall, but it's still like you have to do some active process of putting materials
Yeah.
into it, and it can be destroyed or disabled.
No, so what I'm saying is like there should be traps that keep,
Yeah,
and
traps.
stronghold owners should have access to traps, because I feel like, as we saw with that great server war between all the guilds, I was watching a lot of those videos, by the way. I noticed that a lot of the smaller guilds that got hit obviously got overrun pretty quickly. I feel like you're sieging a stronghold. It's a large structure. You should have something more than just foot fighters and mages inside the support, because it's technically it should be a large undertaking by a guild to take out a stronghold, right? Technically it's a castle of some sort, right? So what I'm saying is there should be more defense accessible options for the defending team. But then again, it's one of those things that would need to probably get balanced, because you're talking about this game specifically where things have been exploited because they haven't been thoroughly thought through, right? And then it's taken them a while to kind of figure out the proper balancing. So obviously that's not something that we probably should be talking about, actually. Let's let's drop that one, actually. I don't want to give Henrik any ideas on that one.
Love you.
But no, as for the whole conversation about the houses, no, I agree with you, Squirrel. As for building a house inside of somebody's keep, you should be first knock down the structure or the walls before building inside. Building outside, I think, is fair game. If you're a keep owner and you allow someone to build outside of your shit, there's probably something wrong with your guild. And you probably are not a suitable keep owner, unfortunately. I hate to say it. But as for the griefing of people's structures by other TC buildings and building on POIs, it's unfortunate. I think we got over the point where, obviously it's something that shouldn't have been allowed, but it's too late. We can't just remove the TC buildings without ruining the other person's experience. Like the argument could be, you allowed me to build here with your original mechanics, but you're gonna delete my stuff. So I remember actually a guild mate of mine back a couple months back. So it's kind of like, I don't know how the GMs operate, but he built a red priest inside of the bounds of his house. So he built a tier 1 house, built a red priest on the right side of it, right? So when he upgraded it, the red priest would be still located inside of the building. I know, it's a thing. I know, it's crazy, right? There's actually a great deal of guilds that do this. This is how they get past getting a legacy priest. So they can get a red priest, build it beside a tier 1 on the back right side, and then upgrade the house to a next tier up. It expands the home and overlaps where the red priest is, and you can still res on top of the red priest inside of the house. Yeah. So I don't know if that is meant to be. Well, obviously it's not, because apparently some players were allowed to keep doing this. His red priest got moved immediately. So I don't know if it's like pick and choose with the GMs. You know, I don't know if what the whole type. Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
Depends how many people report it. If one person reports it, they might whatever. But when multiple people are okay, a lot of people catching on to this.
Yeah, I know people who've gotten banned purely because they killed one person in a guild, and then their whole guild's like, oh, I'm just gonna spam, or my whole guild's gonna spam report you for exploiting or something you didn't do, and then the next thing you do, you log in, and then you're banned for no reason.
Is that really a thing?
Yes, it's happened to many people. People like, oh, I kill one person in your guild, oh, and I'm gonna fucking be a little shithead and complain about it, and then get my entire guild to report you.
Granted, it tends to be like a 24 to 48 hour ban.
Yeah.
Because the devs need, like, our GMs, they need like video proof. So if nobody can provide video proof, well,
Right.
sorry, we can't make the ban permanent. But then you screwed that person out of
A day or 2
whatever.
days.
Right. Right.
And then they're royally pissed off.
No, that's wow. I did not know that. That's actually bizarre.
That can happen in just about any type of game. Now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I know in Call of Duty that was actually like a rampant thing. If you got enough reports, the system would systematically ban you, and you couldn't appeal it.
That's
Not
right.
being able to appeal is stupid. And again, proof needs to be met.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that proof is
If you
everything.
don't have a GM watching you or a video of it, shouldn't stick.
Yep, I agree, 100%. But hey, boys, I'll cut it there. It was a very good conversation with you guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again for joining us on the show.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
No, thank you. Got to kind of hear you guys' got to hear you guys' aspects. I think it was really good to hear, more aspects. I hope to get some content creators here on in the future. I hope you guys will stay in, tune in for that. Did you guys have any parting words for the community? Anything you might want to say?
I hope the game lives because it's a fun game, and I've, wasted the past 3 years of my life playing it. So it'd be nice to, continue having a fun game to play. And I hope they continue to add new content. That's what I think.
Yeah, the potential Diva system could be a lot of fun. Hopefully that'll change a lot of things for people.
Yeah.
Okay.
More bots. Love the bots.
All right, I appreciate you, boys. You guys take
No
care
more
now.
dots! No more dots!
Good night, guys. All right, thank you, guys. If you guys want to see this, please go to YouTube, Spotify. Please like and subscribe. And, of course, and follow onto your Twitch stream so you'll be stay tuned every Friday. Appreciate y'all. Take care.